We'll go argument by argument to talk about ways to avoid VLOOKUP errors. Before that, though, remember the most important thing before you start is that the V in VLOOKUP stands for vertical. Your information must be arranged in vertical columns, similar to this, or VLOOKUP just won't work. Argument 1. Lookup value. Your lookup value must exist in the leftmost column, for example here in part number column, of your lookup table. If not, and it's not practical to move a column to the left, then VLOOKUP won't work for you. And I'm going to go to the Discount tab here. Also, remember that the physical location of the leftmost column doesn't matter, just so it's leftmost. For example, this column starts in column B, or it could be in K, just so long as you're looking at the left or first column in the list or table. And I'll go back to part price here, and another thing that can cause a problem is formatting discrepancies. Say, for example, that I type A-001 here, and keep your eye on the part price. As I press enter, I go from $68 to an error, and that's because Excel is looking for A001 without a dash. And here's another kind of formatting error. Say that I put an extra space here, and then I type in A003. Well, we get an error because Excel doesn't know about that extra space. It's just looking for A003 without an extra space. So it's a very good idea before you start to review your lookup table and look for spelling errors, formatting discrepancy, anything that might cause Excel to not be able to find the lookup value in the left column. Argument 2, table array. Are you using absolute cell references when you copy the VLOOKUP formula to other cells? When you copy the formula to other cells, you must refer to your lookup table or table array either by using absolute cell references or a named range. Here we've got some errors, and that's because if we look up here in the formula bar, we've got relative cell references instead of absolutes. I'll fix that by pressing F4 on my keyboard and moving to G24 and pressing F4 on my keyboard. I'll press enter. Then I'm going to delete these results and copy the formula once again by dragging down, and then we get the correct results. Is your lookup table on a different sheet or workbook? If so, is it referenced correctly in the arguments? In this example, we've got page views and pages. If I go to the formula here, and I've used an exclamation point to indicate that pages is a different spreadsheet. If I remove that and press enter, then suddenly we've got an error. I'll repair that error by putting the exclamation point back, and once again the formula is working correctly. Argument 3, column index number. Are you pointing to the correct column in the lookup table? Count over from the first column, for example here, 1, 2, 3. I want to look up part price. This is an easy place in which to make an error. If you don't have the correct number, you may not get an error, but you could get back the wrong data from another column. For example, I'll click here, and I'm going to take the 3 argument and replace it with 2. And in this case, I get a part name instead of a part price. That's not terrible, but it's not the information I was looking for. Or another error you can make is I'll replace the 2 with a 4. Do you see this error? There is no column 4, and so we've got an error. Make sure that you count correctly, starting at 1, to get to the number that's your column index number argument. Argument 4, range lookup. Have you used true when the argument should be false, or vice versa? Remember, use false for an exact match. Use true to find the closest match or the approximate match to the lookup value. For example, I've used true here when I'm looking for an income tax rate for a list of salaries. Now if I change this from true to false, I get an error, and if I copy that formula down, I'll get an error all the way because there's just not an exact match here. Now I'll change that back to true, and copy the formula down once again, and we get the correct results. If you're using true as your range lookup, are the values in the first column sorted in ascending, smallest to largest, or A through Z order? If not, you may get incorrect or unexpected results. You don't have to sort with a false argument, but it's okay to do that. Be sure to look for a link in the quick reference card at the end of the course for an excellent VLOOKUP troubleshooting guide. And this is the end of the course.